Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. Thank each and every one of you guys for listening and tuning in to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I do not say that lightly, not at all. Again, thank you for tuning in. 1:30 Central Standard Time every Saturday. That's 2:30 on the East Coast and 11:30 a.m. on the West Coast. Thank you. And if you're listening to it on demand, which you can do it anytime you want to after the show airs at 1:30 Central Standard Time. Anytime you want to on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on YouTube, as well as, of course, on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. If you're on Spreaker, do me a favor and follow me on Spreaker. If you follow me there, then you'll get notification as soon as the show pops up on Saturday. So you'll never miss not 1 minute, not 1 second of the show if you follow me on Spreaker. Please do that. And I always follow you back on Spreaker as well. You can also catch me on Twitter at CreditScore_man. I always follow back on Twitter as well. So you can catch me at those spots. All right, so what in the world are we going to talk about today? Last week, I gave you guys a heads up. I gave you a heads up on what we were going to talk about today. Typically, I don't do that because I like to let the week go by, let people contact me and have conversations about credit from a bunch of different individuals and see where it leads me. If you have a question about something about credit and it comes up 2 or 3 times, then I may go ahead and present it on the show as well as an entire topic. So it's not just the 3, 4, 5, 10 individuals that are asking me about this. It may be something good for the masses, because if you got a question, other people have a question as well. But last week I told you guys I was going to talk about the Vantage Score. Vantage Score, and I actually put out an article. I'll put that article out again on Facebook. I'm at 800 Credit Score Man on Facebook, as well as Instagram. And then again on Twitter, I'm at CreditScore_man. So I'll put it out at those places so you can check this article out yourself. But we're going to talk about VantageScore. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I did a show. I talked about the differences, or FICO, basically FICO versus the Vantage scoring system. And so they had a new pie chart out, if you will, that showed where you lie, wherever your credit score number was. So if you had a 680, that meant you were in this particular category. If you had a 580, where that used to be definitely poor or bad credit, then now you were in the fair range in one of these particular models. So I pointed that out. If you haven't seen that pie chart, you know where your credit score is, then go back to any one of those social media pages and look through my pictures and whatnot, and you'll be able to see where you fall and what it talks about. So I did that whole FICO versus Vantage thing. And then recently, an article came out about VantageScore and what they're trying to do to kind of throw a monkey wrench, if you will, into the entire system as well. So they're trying to gain some market share. If you're in business at all and you're in sales, you got to sell something. Maybe you sell your services because you're in IT. Maybe you sell copiers or whatever it is. You offer some kind of service, and there's always some kind of competition. So you got to steal some market share for some competition, and you got to get some new users, things like that, right? So FICO is the big dog in this particular industry. They created this whole thing back in the 1950s. So they hold 90 to 95% of the market share of all of the people out there. There are over 200 million people in the U.S. alone that are part of this credit scoring system that we have. So they have 90 to 95% of the market share. Well, Vantage is trying to steal some of that market share, and they've come out with their own particular model. And Vantage has been around for a while. If you utilize Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, something of that nature, you're probably getting a Vantage score and not a FICO score. There is a difference in there. Sometimes one's higher than the other, and sometimes it's the other way around. But there is a difference in there. So Vantage is really coming out with their own formulation, and they are making some changes to how we have historically thought about how to go about this whole credit thing. All right. So we're going to explore that today. If you're new to the show, at all, I come on, I present a topic in the middle of the show. We have a question of the day. That question comes from you. It comes from the listeners. So if you have a question about credit, no matter how long your question is, how small your question is, how dumb you think your question is, there are no dumb questions. Send your questions to me at 800 creditscoreman at gmail.com. That's 800 creditscoreman at gmail.com. And I will do this. I may answer your question on the show, but I will absolutely get back to you and respond to answer your question as well. Okay, so send those questions in to me. This particular portion of the show is really only as good as you make it. All right, so send those questions to me. So we're going to do the question of the day, and then oftentimes we have a credit score kiss at the end of the show. That's homework. That's homework for you. This KISS, KISS, that's keep it smart and simple, and that's something for you to do to help you improve your credit scores, improve your knowledge of the credit scoring system. So that's pretty much how it works. And in between time, all in between of all these things, I also give shout outs. So if you have a birthday coming up, an anniversary, whether it's a fraternal anniversary, a church anniversary, a wedding anniversary, or a birthday, or any of those things, then you can contact me and you may be shouted out on the 800 Credit Score Man show. So I'm going to give my first shout out for today. I got to shout out Dante Denson Jr. Dante celebrates his birthday today. Today is Dante's birthday. This is actually my great nephew, you guys. So everybody give him a round of applause and happy birthday to you, Dante Denson Jr. And since I'm dealing with my family at this particular point in time, let me shout out Taylor King as well. She celebrated a birthday earlier this week, so happy birthday to you, cousin. Taylor is actually in the Dominican Republic right now. She's in the DR, and so I'm feeling international because I know she's listening. I know she's got an iPhone, so she's listening to it on iTunes, so happy birthday to you, Tay. All right, so let's get into the show. So what's the deal with this whole VantageScore, and who in the world is VantageScore? So VantageScore was created by the three credit bureaus. So that's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So they created the VantageScores. Again, like if you use a Credit Karma, you see VantageScores when you utilize them. Again, they're different than FICO scores, and 90 to 95% of lenders use FICO. But Vantage, last year alone, Vantage had 8 billion applications for credit. 8 billion. That's B with a B, billion. 8 billion. So you see how large this could be. So they are a small or smaller player with only having, 8 to 10% of the market, if you will. They are a smaller player, but it is important for us to pay attention to the smaller player because then one day, they may have 25% of the market share. They may have 50% of the market share, and you need to know this information. So what's one of the things that they're going to do? I've talked about a lot of changes that have come with the credit scoring system over the last year and a half. It seemed like for 10 years, 12 years, there were no changes at all, or they were very minimal. And there certainly weren't any changes that were very positive for us, for the consumers. But lately, over the last year and a half, there have been a lot of changes. I did a show called, what's the name of the show? I think I did a show called Change is Coming or something of that nature. Go back and listen to that show. It'll give you in detail some of the changes that have come about. So one of the things that came about, and we talked about this on a couple of shows ago, that people actually with lower credit scores, because they have civil judgments and tax liens on their credit report, they are no longer going to be reported on their credit report. So VantageScore is going to have this as well as FICO. They'll have this on their credit in their credit scoring model as well. So if you don't know, come July 1st, 2017, that if you have a civil judgment that's on your credit report, if you have a tax lien, whether it's a property tax lien, a state tax lien, or federal tax lien on your credit report, it's no longer going to be there. Now, don't go running out on July the 2nd, July the 3rd, saying, looking at your credit report and you still have that tax lien showing up. Over 200 million people are in this particular system, and not every one of us has a civil judgment or a tax lien, but I can imagine that it's going to take them some time to get to those people. So those tax liens and civil judgments are no longer going to be a part of your credit report. Not just that they're going to be showing up, but the credit scoring system isn't going to factor that in. They won't be there at all. And so if you have some now, if you have a civil judgment sitting on your credit report right now, or you have a tax lien, then it's going to come off of your credit report. They already have stopped collecting that data. So, if you happen to get one last Friday, then it's not going to show up on your credit report. It's just not going to do it anymore. So that's one thing that they're going to do. They're going to follow in line with FICO. They're going to do that. And then here's one of the major things that they're going to do. I have been telling you guys, and I still say this, so stay tuned for the whole show so you can get the wrap up at the end. But I've been saying that not to close your credit cards. If you pay your credit card off, don't close your credit card because it could hurt your credit score. Matter of fact, not it could, it will hurt your credit score if you pay off a credit card that you've had for 5, 7, 12, 20 years. It will hurt your credit score for sure. So what Vantage is saying now is that you may want to close those credit cards. Now listen to me. Don't you guys go running out there closing those credit cards. You can cut them up if you want, but don't call the company and say, hey, I don't want your services anymore. And here's why. If you close that credit card right now, then it affects your length of history. That's 15% of your credit score. If you've had this credit card for 20 years, and so then you're no longer going to get I'm putting up air quotes, you no longer get the credit for that 20 years of good history with that particular card, a good pay history and all of those things, then you negate that when you close it. Not only do you affect just that 15%, you also affect your debt utilization, and that is 30% of your credit score. So if you close that card and you hurt your debt utilization, that's 45% of your credit score that you are negatively affecting by closing just one card. And God forbid you close 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, it's really, really going to hurt your credit score. So you do not want to do that, not at this point. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for the wrap up at the end of the show regarding this. So what VantageScore is looking at is they're trying to calculate risk. Historically speaking, the way we've looked at credit is with FICO for sure is that they have looked at what you've done in the past to predict what you're going to do in the future. So if they said this person always was good about paying their bills on time, then we can predict that they're going to continue to do that. Barring any kind of issue, they lose a job or, there's a death in the family or whatever it is, they're going to continue to do what they've always done, and that's to pay their bills on time. That's what they've been looking at in the past. Now, VantageScore is trying to assess the risks that you may have in the future. So that's what they're doing. So this is why they're saying to you, then you may need to close those credit cards, because if you have open balances, then you are a risk for actually using that open balance. And so that's what they're looking at, and that's how they're trying to predict. They're trying to predict if you are going to go ahead and be a person that will charge up your credit cards and then be unable to pay those credit cards and other individuals back. So that's what they're looking for. They're trying to predict what's going to happen in the future instead of looking at your past and taking that risk that way. So all of this, of course, is around risk. So they're all just trying to calculate the risk. What risk are you? How credit worthy are you? And if something happens, then will you pay back? So their whole goal is to see the trend with you. What are you doing? And the warning signs before you get into some kind of financial or credit trouble. That's what they're looking to predict. All right, so those are just a couple of things that VantageScore is doing. Again, VantageScore has been created by the 3 credit bureaus. All these years, the 3 credit bureaus have been dealing with FICO and buying their information from them. So also, not only is this like a power grab for market share, I'm sure it's saving them some money not having to deal with FICO so much every day, trying to deal with FICO to get credit scores out and predict what people are going to do with their credit. All right, so it's basically time to go ahead and do the question of the day. Before I get to the question of the day, let me throw out a couple of more shout outs. Of course, I want to shout out Andre Collins. He celebrated a birthday